Hello, my name is Nishat Noor and welcome to Millennium Headlines. This week's top headlines are: Weekly address, State of the Union is this Tuesday. Kerry travels to Paris to show solidarity after terror attacks. 176 killed and thousands displaced by floods. Fearing total chaos in Libya, UN plans new peace talks. U.S. lawmakers in Cuba for 3-day visit. Suspect held in disappearance of 43 Mexican students. U.S. and Britain present a united front. Now the details to this week's top headlines. In this week's address, the president recounted the stories of letter writers from around the country who will be joining him when he delivers his annual State of the Union address this Tuesday.
Hi, everybody. Every day we get thousands of letters and emails to the White House from Americans across the country. And every night, I read 10 of them. They tell me about their hopes and their worries, their hardships and successes. They're the Americans I'm working for every day. And this year, several of these letter writers will join me at the Capitol when I deliver my annual State of the Union address on Tuesday night. Carolyn Reed wrote to me from Colorado to tell me she was able to expand her business thanks to a loan from the Small Business Administration. Today, she and her husband own 7 silver mine sub shops, and last year they raised wages for all their hourly employees. Victor Fugate from Butler, Missouri, wrote to tell me that he was unemployed for a while a few years ago, but today he's earned his degree and found a full-time job. Victor said that he and his wife were able to afford their student loans because our country offered millions of Americans the chance to cap their monthly payments as a percentage of their income. And because of the Affordable Care Act, they now have the security and peace of mind of affordable health insurance. While serving in Afghanistan, Jason Gibson was gravely wounded. He lost both his legs. When I first met him in the hospital, he was just beginning his long, difficult road to recovery. But last year, Sergeant Gibson wrote to tell me that with the help of our extraordinary doctors and nurses, he's making extraordinary progress. He just moved into a new home, and he and his wife just had a baby girl. And stories like these give us reason to start the new year with confidence. 2014 was the fastest year for job growth since the 1990s. Unemployment fell faster than any year since 1984. Our combat mission in Afghanistan has come to a responsible end, and more of our heroes are coming home. America's resurgence is real. Our job now is to make sure that every American feels that they're a part of our country's comeback. That's what I'll focus on in my State of the Union: how to build on our momentum with rising wages, growing incomes, and a stronger middle class. And I'll call on this new Congress to join me in putting aside the political games and finding areas where we agree so we can deliver for the American people. The last 6 years have demanded resilience and sacrifice from all of us. All of us have a right to be proud of the progress America's made. And I hope you'll tune in on Tuesday to hear about the steps we can take to build on this progress and to seize this moment together. Thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Secretary of State John Kerry last Friday capped off a morning full of high-level meetings and red-laying in commemorate France's struggle against terrorism by welcoming James Taylor at Paris's Ornès City Hall.
He'd said he wanted to give a big hug to the people of France, and alongside the mayor of Paris in City Hall, John Kerry honoured those killed in last week's terror attacks in silence and in French.
Ensemble, nous persévérerons, et ensemble, nous vaincrons.
Together we'll persevere, and together we'll triumph. What the extremists, thugs and terrorists don't understand, what they can't understand, is that valour and decency will never yield to intimidation and terror, never.
Et à la terreur, jamais.
Today's tribute at the kosher supermarket where 4 people were killed by an Islamist militant was catch-up time for the US after it failed to send a top official to Sunday's solidarity march in the French capital. France's Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius said his US counterpart, who also met President Hollande, had apologized for his absence. And John Kerry visited the scene of the Charlie Hebdo massacre where 12 were killed, saying in Paris today, no nation knows better than France that freedom has a price.
Flooding in Malawi has killed more than 176 people, displaced at least 200,000, left homes and schools submerged in water and roads washed away, Vice President Saulos Chilima said Friday. Dozens of people are missing, with at least 153 unaccounted for in the worst affected southern parts of the country. Mr. Chilima said downriver and neighboring Mozambique floodwaters have left at least 38 dead, displaced tens and thousands, and damaged the main road linking the north and the south of the country. The United Nations said last Wednesday that it was starting a new round of talks here aimed at ending the chaos and violence in Libya, as the international concern grows over the widening influence of Muslim extremists there. A delegation of American legislators led by Senator Patrick J. Leahy arrived in Cuba last Saturday to discuss greater cooperation in remaining areas of disagreement, the first congressional delegation to visit the island nation since President Obama announced last month that he was restoring full diplomatic ties with it. Mexican officials said last Friday that they had detained a leader of the criminal group that prosecutors believed killed 43 college students, then burned their bodies in a case that continues to roil the country more than 3 months after the young men disappeared. President Obama said last Friday that the United States and Britain pledged a new cooperation to bolster cybersecurity and an intensified effort against the Islamic State as the two nations work to confront a mounting threat from violent extremists across the globe in the wake of terrorism attacks in Paris.
And so let me put this speculation to rest. Put simply, David is a great friend. He's one of my closest and most trusted partners in the world. On many of the most pressing challenges that we face, we see the world the same way. We recognize that, as I've said before, when the United States and the United Kingdom stand together, our nations are more secure and our people are more prosperous and the world is safer and more just. Great Britain is our indispensable partner, and David has been personally an outstanding partner, and I thank you for your friendship. With both of our economies growing and unemployment falling, we used our working dinner last night to discuss how we can help create more jobs for our people. We believe that this needs to be the year when the United States and the European Union make real progress toward the transatlantic trade and investment partnership, and we share the view that boosting demand in Europe can also keep our economies growing. As innovative economies in this information age, we're expanding our collaboration on digital technologies to improve how our governments serve our citizens and businesses. Given the urgent and growing danger of cyber threats, we decided to expand our cooperation on cybersecurity to protect our critical infrastructure, our businesses, and the privacy of our people. And as leaders in the global fight against climate change, we believe that a strong commitment to reducing greenhouse gases will be an essential element of any ambitious climate agreement that we seek in Paris this year, and that this actually will help spur the creation of more clean energy jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. With regard to security, American-British unity is enabling us to meet challenges in Europe and beyond. We agree on the need to maintain strong sanctions against Russia until it ends its aggression in Ukraine, and on the need to support Ukraine as it implements important economic and democratic reforms. We agree that the international community needs to remain united as we seek a comprehensive diplomatic solution to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. And I'd add that additional sanctions on Iran at this time would undermine that international unity and set back our chances for a diplomatic solution. And as the two leading contributors to the global response to Ebola in West Africa, we urge the world to continue stepping up with the resources that are required so that we don't simply stop this disease, we do more to prevent future epidemics. Now, much of our discussion obviously focused on the continuing threat of terrorism. And in the wake of the vicious attacks in Paris, as well as the news surfacing out of Belgium today, we continue to stand unequivocally, not only with our French friends and allies, but with also all of our partners who are dealing with this scourge. I know David joins me when I say that we will continue to do everything in our power to help France seek the justice that is needed, and that all our countries are working together seamlessly to prevent attacks and to defeat these terrorist networks. With our combat mission in Afghanistan over, we're also focused with our NATO allies on advising and assisting and equipping Afghan forces to secure their own country and to deny al-Qaeda any safe haven there. We'll continue to count on our British allies as one of our strongest counterterrorism partners, whether it's helping countries fight back against al-Qaeda affiliates or Boko Haram in Nigeria. We reviewed our coalition's progress against ISIL. We are systematically taking out their fighters. We're destroying their infrastructure. We are putting them on the defensive and helping local forces in Iraq push these terrorists back. And David and I agree that we need to keep stepping up the training of Iraqi forces and that we're not going to relent until this terrorist organization is destroyed. Now, the Paris attacks also underscored again how terrorist groups like al-Qaeda and ISIL are actively trying to inspire and support people within our own countries to engage in terrorism. I led a special session of the United Nations Security Council last fall to rally the world to meet the threat of foreign terrorist fighters, including coming from Syria. David and the United Kingdom continue to be strong partners in this work, including sharing intelligence and strengthening border security. At the same time, we both recognize that intelligence and military force alone is not going to solve this problem, so we're also going to keep working together on strategies to counter violent extremism that radicalizes, recruits, and mobilizes people, especially young people, to engage in terrorism. And local communities, families, neighbors, faith leaders have a vital role to play in that effort. We also look forward to welcoming our British friends to our summit next month on countering violent terrorism, because whether in Europe or in America, a critical weapon against terrorism is our adherence to our freedoms and values at home, including the pluralism and the respect and tolerance that defines us as diverse and democratic societies. And finally, I want to take this opportunity to publicly congratulate David on last month's Stormont House agreement. It's a tribute to the courage and determination of everyone involved, especially the leaders of Northern Ireland, as well as the governments of Ireland and the United Kingdom. The United States was pleased to play a small role in achieving this agreement, and we're going to keep doing what we need to do to support the peace process and a better future for the people of Northern Ireland. So with that, let me turn it over to my good friend David Cameron.
Well, thank you very much, Barack, and thank you for welcoming me again to the White House. You are a great friend to Britain and to me personally. As leaders, we share the same values, and as you said, on so many issues, we see the world in the same way. And most of the time, we speak the same language. In the last 6 years since you became president, and in the nearly 5 since I've been Prime Minister, we've faced some big issues on our watch. And those challenges have boiled down to one word: security. Economic security, the jobs and the living standards of our citizens, and national security, the ability of our peoples to live safely and in peace. And at the heart of both issues are the values that our countries cherish: freedom of expression, the rule of law, and our democratic institutions. Those are the things that make both our countries strong and which give us confidence that even in the midst of the most violent storms, with strong leadership, we will come through to safer, to calmer, and to brighter days.
Thank you for watching Millennium Headlines. See you next week.